The notification popped up on my laptop at 2:40 p.m. on a Tuesday. Your wife Ashley has checked into the Riverside Hotel with Michael Thompson. I stared at the alert, my coffee growing cold in my hand. The geofencing app I'd installed on our shared family plan, ostensibly to keep track of our two kids, Emma and Tyler, had just shattered my world into a million pieces. My name is David Patterson, and I'm a systems engineer for a Fortune 500 company in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm the guy who plans everything, who reads the fine print, who backs up the backup. Some people called me paranoid. Turns out, I was just prepared. 3 months earlier, I'd noticed Ashley coming home later from her yoga classes. The expensive lingerie hidden in the back of her drawer, tags still on, never worn around me. The way she angled her phone away when texting. Classic signs, right? But I'm not the type to make accusations without evidence. I'm the type who documents everything. So I'd set up the geofencing alerts. I'd started keeping a detailed journal, dates, times, observations, all stored in an encrypted cloud folder. I'd even consulted with a lawyer friend, off the record, about what I'd need if things went south. He'd told me North Carolina was one of the few states left where adultery actually mattered in divorce proceedings, where a betrayed spouse could file for alienation of affection. That information sat in the back of my mind like a loaded weapon I hoped I'd never have to use. Now, sitting in my home office, I pulled up the location history, the Riverside Hotel. I cross-referenced it with my journal entries. She'd been there 6 times in the past month, always on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, always for exactly 2 hours. Michael Thompson. The name burned itself into my brain. I opened LinkedIn on another screen. There he was, senior account manager at the same marketing firm where Ashley worked as a creative director. 34 years old, divorced. That practiced smile of someone who knew exactly how good-looking he was. My hands were steady as I opened a new document and began typing. Time-stamped entries, screenshots, location data. I worked with the precision of someone defusing a bomb, because in a way, I was. My marriage was the explosive device, and I needed to make sure that when it detonated, I wasn't the one buried in the rubble. The front door opened at 5:15 p.m., right on schedule. "Honey, I'm home!" Ashley's voice rang through the house, that same cheerful tone she'd used for 12 years of marriage. Traffic was terrible coming back from the client meeting. I saved my files, closed my laptop, and walked downstairs. She was in the kitchen, pulling groceries from reusable bags, her blonde hair still perfect, her makeup unsmudged. She'd gotten good at this. "How was your day?" I asked, leaning against the counter. "Exhausting." She didn't even look at me. The Jameson account, is being so demanding. We had to completely redo the presentation. I grabbed stuff for dinner. Thought I'd make that pasta you like. The lie rolled off her tongue so easily. I wondered how many others there had been. How many client meetings and late projects and team-building exercises had actually been afternoons at the Riverside Hotel. "Sounds great," I said. "I'll help." We moved around the kitchen like we had for years, a practiced dance of married domesticity. She chopped vegetables while I put water on to boil. We talked about Emma's upcoming soccer tournament and Tyler's science project. We discussed whether we needed to replace the dishwasher. Normal. Everything was so devastatingly normal. Except I could smell it now. The faint scent of cologne that wasn't mine. The slightly too bright quality to her voice, like someone overcompensating. The way she kept her phone face down on the counter, within constant reach. "Kids won't be home until 7, she said, stirring sauce. "Mom's taking them to get new shoes after school." Right. I'd forgotten. Or maybe I'd blocked it out, my mind too focused on the evidence accumulating in my encrypted files. Ashley moved closer, sliding her arm around my waist. "We could open some wine, relax a little before the chaos starts." She kissed my neck, and I felt nothing. No, that's not true. I felt disgust, revulsion at the performance of it all. This woman who'd spent her afternoon in a hotel room with another man was now playing the affectionate wife. But I smiled. I pulled her close. I played my part. That sounds perfect, I said. Because here's what Ashley didn't know about me. I don't react impulsively. I don't make scenes. When someone wrongs me, I don't get mad. I get methodical. And I'd already started building a case that would destroy her credibility, her reputation, and her financial future. North Carolina law was about to become my best friend. Alienation of affection lawsuits required proof of three things: a valid marriage, love and affection in that marriage, and a third party who destroyed it. I had documentation of all three. The geofencing data. The credit card statements I'd quietly pulled, showing charges at the Riverside Hotel on her corporate card, personal use of company funds. The text message backups I'd been running through our shared cloud account. Ashley had been careless. She thought I was too trusting, too comfortable, too passive to ever question her. She had no idea who she was dealing with. As we sat at the kitchen table with our wine, making small talk about nothing, I was already 3 moves ahead. I knew exactly when I'd serve the papers, exactly what evidence I'd present, exactly how I'd ensure that when this marriage ended, I'd walk away with my kids, my assets, and my dignity intact. Ashley raised her glass. To us. I clinked mine against hers, meeting her eyes. To us, I echoed. And I meant it, because there was still an us, just not the one she thought. There was the us she was destroying, and the us I was documenting for court. The next morning, I woke at 5:30 a.m., 30 minutes before my alarm. Ashley slept beside me, her breathing steady and peaceful. The woman who'd spent yesterday afternoon in a hotel room with another man. The woman who'd come home and kissed our children goodnight with the same lips. I got up quietly, went downstairs, and made coffee. While it brewed, I opened my encrypted folder and added yesterday's data to the spreadsheet. Hotel check-in, 2:47 p.m. Checkout, 5:02 p.m. 2 hours and 15 minutes. I noted the timestamps, cross-referenced them with the text messages she'd sent me during that window. Running late, stuck in meeting, and saved everything to 3 separate cloud services. Methodical. Always methodical. Ashley came down at 6:45, already dressed in a charcoal pencil skirt and cream blouse. She poured herself coffee and scrolled through her phone while I made scrambled eggs for the kids. "You're up early," she said. "Couldn't sleep." She glanced at me, a flicker of something, concern, guilt, crossing her face. "Everything okay?" "Fine, just thinking about the Henderson project." I'd stopped correcting myself to Jameson weeks ago. The slip had become intentional, a private test. She never noticed. She didn't notice now either. Just nodded and went back to her phone. Emma and Tyler thundered downstairs at 7:15, backpacks bouncing. I made their lunches while Ashley reminded them about soccer practice and piano lessons. A normal Thursday morning. Everything devastatingly normal. After they left, Ashley driving them to school before heading to work, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop. I had a meeting at 9, but that gave me time. I opened LinkedIn and searched for Michael Thompson again. His profile hadn't changed. Same practice smile, same list of corporate achievements. I clicked through to his connections, studying the network. 43 mutual connections with Ashley. Most were colleagues from her firm, but some were clients. People who'd see the fallout when this went public. Because it would go public. North Carolina's alienation of affection law guaranteed that. I closed the laptop and went to work. The week passed in careful routine. Ashley worked late Tuesday and Thursday. Both nights, my geofencing app showed her at the Riverside Hotel for exactly 2 hours. She came home smelling faintly of hotel soap, her hair freshly styled, her makeup reapplied. Friday night, she suggested we get a babysitter and go out to dinner. "Just us," she said, smiling. "It's been too long." I agreed. Of course I agreed. We went to Vincenzo's, an Italian place we'd been going to since before Emma was born. Ashley wore a black dress I'd bought her for our anniversary 2 years ago. She looked beautiful. She always looked beautiful. Over wine and pasta, she reached across the table and took my hand. "I feel like we've been ships passing in the night lately," she said. "I miss you." I looked at her fingers intertwined with mine. The same fingers that had touched him. The same hand that wore my ring. "I miss you too," I said. And here's the thing. I meant it. I miss the woman I'd married 12 years ago. The woman who'd existed before Michael Thompson. Before the lies in the hotel rooms and the late-night texts she thought I didn't see. But that woman was gone. Maybe she'd never existed at all. Ashley squeezed my hand. "Let's plan something. A weekend away, just the two of us. Your mom could watch the kids." "That sounds nice." She smiled, and for a moment, I saw genuine happiness in her eyes. Relief, maybe. Like she thought this dinner was fixing something. Like she thought we were okay. I smiled back and refilled her wine glass. Saturday morning, Ashley announced she was going to yoga. Real yoga this time, she said. She'd been slacking lately and needed to get back into it. I watched her drive away, then checked the app. She went to the yoga studio, stayed for exactly 90 minutes. Came home with wet hair and a yoga mat, talking about how good it felt to stretch. Maybe it was real. Maybe she actually went to yoga sometimes. Didn't matter. I had 6 hotel visits documented. 6 times was enough. That afternoon, while Ashley took Emma shopping for new cleats, I went to my office and called my lawyer friend again. "How's it going?" he asked. "Still gathering evidence." "You've got enough, David. You had enough a month ago." "I want to be thorough." He was quiet for a moment. "When are you going to pull the trigger?" "Soon." "Your kids' sake, don't drag this out. The longer you wait, the harder it gets." After we hung up, I sat at my desk and stared at the framed photo of our family. Last year's beach vacation. Ashley's arm around my waist, Emma and Tyler grinning in front of us, ocean waves in the background. I'd thought we were happy then. Had we been? Or had I just been too blind to see the cracks? My phone buzzed. Ashley. "Getting dinner stuff. Anything special you want?" Me. "Whatever you feel like." Ashley. "How about steaks on the grill?" Me. "Perfect." I put the phone down and opened my encrypted folder. Added a note. Saturday, October 14th. Wife suggests family dinner. Maintains facade of normalcy. Sunday, Ashley's mother came over for lunch. Barbara had never liked me much. Thought Ashley had married beneath her, probably. But she tolerated me for the grandkids' sake. We ate pot roast and potatoes while Barbara told stories about Ashley's childhood. How responsible she'd always been. How trustworthy. How she'd never given her parents a moment's worry. I watched Ashley laugh at her mother's stories, watched her play the role of dutiful daughter, and wondered if Barbara knew. If she'd helped cover for her. If lunch with mom had ever been code for something else. Probably not. Ashley was too careful for that. After Barbara left, Ashley suggested we bury the time capsule we'd been talking about for years. We'd bought a waterproof container ages ago, back when Emma was 5 and Tyler was 3, and kept saying we'd fill it with mementos and bury it in the backyard. 10 years from now, we'll dig it up together, Ashley said. The kids will love it. Emma and Tyler were immediately excited. They ran around gathering items, drawings, a toy car, a friendship bracelet, Emma's first soccer trophy. Ashley added photos, a USB drive with home videos, a letter she wrote to our future selves. I watched her seal the envelope, watched her write, "To us, October 2033, on the front in her neat handwriting. "You should write one too," she said, handing me paper and a pen. I took them. Sat at the kitchen table while the kids argued about what else to include. Ashley moved around the kitchen, humming, completely at ease. I stared at the blank paper. Dear future us. What was there to say? What truth could I write that wouldn't destroy everything when we open this 10 years from now? Except we wouldn't be opening it together. Not if things went according to plan. I wrote something generic. Something about hoping we were still happy, hoping the kids were thriving, hoping life had been kind to us. Safe, meaningless words. Ashley didn't read it before I folded it and sealed it in an envelope. We buried the capsule that afternoon, all four of us digging in the backyard near the oak tree. Emma marked the spot with a painted rock. Tyler took a photo with Ashley's phone. 10 years, Ashley said, putting her arm around me. Think about how old the kids will be. Emma will be 20, Tyler will be 18. College kids, I said. We'll be old, she laughed. Speak for yourself. She kissed my cheek. The kids groaned and made faces. We went inside and washed the dirt off our hands, and I thought about that time capsule buried in our backyard. About Ashley's letter to our future selves, sealed and hidden in the ground. About what secrets she might have written down, thinking they'd be safe for 10 years. Thinking I'd never see them. Monday morning, Ashley left for work at 8:30. I waited 15 minutes, then went to her home office. Her laptop was password protected, but I'd watched her type it in enough times. Muscle memory made my fingers fly across the keys. Tai 2011, the year the kids were born, and our anniversary, sentimental, predictable, the desktop loaded. I opened her email client and searched for Michael Thompson's name. 73 messages. I started reading. They were careful, no explicit details, nothing overtly sexual, but the subtext was clear. Can't wait to see you Tuesday. Last week was amazing. Thinking about you. And then, buried in a thread from 6 weeks ago, I found it. I know this is complicated. I know we're both risking everything, but I've never felt this way before. When I'm with you, I feel alive again. David is a good man, a good father, but we've been going through the motions for years. I don't think he even notices. I read it 3 times. David is a good man, a good father, but we've been going through the motions for years. My hands were steady as I took screenshots, as I forwarded the emails to my encrypted account, as I cleared the sent folder and the trash, covering my tracks. I don't think he even notices. I closed the laptop and went back downstairs. She was right about one thing. I was a good father. And I was going to make damn sure I kept my kids. The email sat open on my screen for exactly 90 seconds before I closed the laptop and returned it to Ashley's bag, positioned precisely where I'd found it. 2:47 a.m. She'd rolled over twice in the last hour but hadn't woken. I didn't sleep after that. Instead, I sat in the home office and added the email to my encrypted folder, now containing 43 separate pieces of documented evidence. Screenshots, GPS logs, credit card statements, hotel receipts I'd obtained through a contact who owed me a favor. The alienation of affection case was building itself, brick by brick. I don't think he even notices. That line played on repeat. She thought I was oblivious, sleepwalking through our marriage while she dismantled it piece by piece. Wrong. By 6:15 a.m., I had coffee brewing and breakfast started. Ashley emerged at 6:42, her blonde hair pulled into a messy bun, wearing one of my old college t-shirts. She kissed my cheek, her lips cool and dry, and poured herself coffee. "You're up early," she said. "Couldn't sleep. Thinking about work stuff." She scrolled through her phone, not really listening. I have that presentation today. Might run late. The Henderson pitch? Jameson. The Jameson pitch. A flicker of irritation crossed her face. I told you about it last week. Right. Sorry. Good luck. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Thanks, babe. The kids came down at 7, and we performed our morning routine with practiced efficiency. Tyler needed help finding his science homework. Emma wanted French toast instead of eggs. Ashley reminded me about parent-teacher conferences next Thursday, a date she'd already blocked out for a 2-hour meeting at the Riverside Hotel, according to the pattern I'd mapped. She left at 7:58, calling out a cheerful goodbye that echoed in the suddenly quiet house. I dropped the kids at school and went to work, where I spent 6 hours pretending to care about network infrastructure upgrades while my phone tracked Ashley's location in real time. She went to her office, stayed there until 11:30, then drove to a cafe 3 blocks from Michael Thompson's building. She was there for 47 minutes. Michael's LinkedIn showed he'd posted a photo 2 hours later. A cappuccino with elaborate foam art, captioned, "Fuel for the afternoon grind." The timestamp matched. The cafe's distinctive turquoise wall tiles were visible in the background. Sloppy. I saved the screenshot. The days accumulated like evidence in my folder. Ashley maintained her pattern. Tuesdays and Thursdays at the Riverside Hotel. Occasional lunch meetings that ran long, evening yoga classes, where she returned home with her hair slightly mussed and her makeup refreshed. She was good at lying. I'll give her that. She looked me in the eye every single time, her expression open and guileless, selling each deception with the same skills that made her a successful creative director. But I was better at watching. 2 weeks after the time capsule burial, Barbara called to invite us to Sunday dinner. Ashley's mother had a voice like wind chimes, perpetually cheerful and slightly intrusive. "We haven't seen you all in ages," Barbara said when I answered, "and I want to hear all about the time capsule. Such a sweet idea." "We'd love to come," I said, watching Ashley through the kitchen doorway. She was texting someone, a small smile playing at her lips. "Wonderful. I'll make that pot roast you like." Ashley looked up when I ended the call. "My mother?" "Sunday dinner. She's excited about the time capsule." Something flickered across her face, too quick to identify. "That'll be nice." "What did you put in your letter?" I asked, keeping my tone casual. "You never said." "Oh, just reflections, goals, the usual time capsule stuff." She set her phone face down on the counter. "What about you?" "Career aspirations, hopes for the kids, things I want our future selves to remember." "Sweet." She picked up her phone again, already dismissing the conversation. I wondered what she'd written, what confessions she'd sealed away, thinking they'd be safe for a decade, thinking we'd open it together, still married, still playing house while our children watched. The thought sat in my chest like a stone. Sunday arrived with unseasonable warmth. Barbara's house smelled like rosemary and roasted vegetables, and she greeted us at the door with fierce hugs for the kids and a knowing look at Ashley. "You look tired, sweetheart. Are they working you too hard?" "Just a busy season," Ashley said. "Big client pitches." "Well, you need to take care of yourself. David, make sure she's not overdoing it." "I try," I said, meeting Ashley's eyes. "But you know how dedicated she is to her work." Ashley's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. Dinner was the usual performance. Barbara asked about school, work, the neighborhood. Ashley's father, quiet as always, focused on his pot roast and occasionally grunted agreement with whatever Barbara said. Emma told a long story about a disagreement with her best friend. Tyler demonstrated a new handshake he'd learned. Normal. Everything was so devastatingly normal. "So tell me about this time capsule," Barbara said over dessert. 10 years seems like such a long time." "It was Ashley's idea," I said. "A way to capture this moment. The kids at these ages, us at this point in our lives. What a lovely thought. Barbara beamed at her daughter. What did you write about? Ashley shifted in her chair. Just where I hope will be. What I hope hasn't changed. I'm sure it was beautiful. You always were good with words. Barbara turned to me. And you, David? What wisdom did you seal away? Mostly gratitude, I said. For what we have. For what we've built together. Ashley's hand found mine under the table, her fingers cold. She squeezed once and I squeezed back, wondering if she felt the lie in my touch the way I felt it in hers. That night, after the kids were asleep, Ashley poured 2 glasses of wine and joined me on the couch. She curled against my side, her head on my shoulder, and we watched some mindless comedy neither of us cared about. Today was nice, she said during a commercial break. Your mom's in good form. She likes you, you know. Always has. Ashley traced idle patterns on my chest. She told me once that I'd gotten lucky, that you were exactly the kind of man she'd hoped I'd find. High praise from Barbara. She's not wrong. Ashley's voice went soft. You are a good man, David. I don't tell you that enough. The irony burned. I thought about her email. David is a good man, a good father, but we've been going through the motions for years. You don't have to say it, I told her. I know what we have. She tilted her face up to kiss me, and I kissed her back, tasting wine and lies in the future I was methodically dismantling in my encrypted folder. She deepened the kiss, her hand sliding up to cup my jaw, and for a moment, just a moment, I almost forgot that this was performance, that we were both acting out roles in a marriage that existed only as evidence now. Almost. She pulled back, her eyes searching mine. I love you. I love you too, I said, and watched something like relief cross her face. She believed me. She actually believed that I was still the oblivious husband, content with scraps of affection while she gave herself to someone else. I don't think he even notices. Oh, I noticed everything. Monday morning brought rain and a text from my lawyer friend Jeremy. Got time for lunch? We met at a sports bar downtown, the kind of place with too many televisions and mediocre burgers. Jeremy ordered a beer despite it being noon on a Monday. I stuck with water. So, he said, once the waitress left, you said you had questions about that hypothetical situation we discussed. Still hypothetical, I said. But I want to understand the timeline. If someone were to file for alienation of affection in North Carolina, how long does the process typically take? Jeremy leaned back, considering. Depends on a lot of factors. How contested it is, whether the defendant tries to settle, court schedules. Could be 6 months, could be 18. Why? Just planning ahead. Hypothetically. Right? He took a long drink. And this hypothetical person, they've got solid documentation? Extensive. Timestamps, locations, communications, third-party witnesses potentially available. Financial records, credit card statements showing hotel visits, charges at restaurants during work hours, pattern of deception clearly established. Jeremy whistled low. Your hypothetical friend is thorough. He's a systems engineer. Thorough is what he does. Well, hypothetically speaking, that kind of documentation makes for a strong case, especially if the other party doesn't know it exists. He met my eyes. Element of surprise can be valuable in these situations. That's what I thought. We ate our burgers and talked about other things. Sports, mutual friends, Jeremy's upcoming vacation. But the real conversation had already happened. The information I needed already transferred and filed away in my mental folder alongside everything else. 6 to 18 months. I could wait that long. I'd already waited 3 months, watching and documenting while Ashley thought I noticed nothing. What was a little more patience when I was building something permanent? Something that would ensure she lost everything while I walked away with my children, my dignity, and a legal victory that would follow her and Michael Thompson for the rest of their professional lives. I paid for lunch and drove back to work, where my phone showed Ashley's location at the Riverside Hotel for the third Tuesday in a row. 2:47 p.m., like clockwork. I added the timestamp to my log and got back to work. The time capsule sat on the dining room table like an accusation. 10 years. We'd buried it in the backyard on Emma's 8th birthday, back when Ashley still looked at me like I mattered. Now Emma was 18, home from her first semester at Duke, and she'd been the one to suggest we dig it up early. "Come on, Dad," she'd said that morning. "We were supposed to wait until I turned 18 anyway. Close enough, right?" Close enough. So there it was. A weatherproof plastic container, dirt-caked and sealed with duct tape that had somehow survived a decade underground. Ashley stood across from me, Tyler at her side, my mother-in-law Barbara perched on the edge of her chair with that eager smile she always wore at family gatherings. Ashley's face had gone pale the moment Emma brought the container inside. I'd almost forgotten about it myself. Almost. But 3 days ago, lying awake at 2 a.m. while Ashley slept peacefully beside me, probably dreaming of Michael's hands on her body, the memory had surfaced. The time capsule. The letters we'd all written to our future selves. And I'd remembered watching Ashley seal her envelope, watching her hesitate before dropping it in, the way her fingers had lingered on the paper. "Well?" Emma grinned, holding up a knife. "Should I do the honors?" "Let me," I said, taking it from her. My hand was steady. It had been steady for 3 months now, ever since that first geofencing alert. I'd become very good at steady. The duct tape peeled away easily. Inside, wrapped in plastic bags, Emma's collection of friendship bracelets. Tyler's baseball card of some player whose career had flamed out spectacularly. Barbara's recipe for her famous pot roast that she'd been threatening to take to her grave. My own letter, sealed in a blue envelope. And Ashley's. White. Thick. Sealed with enough tape to survive a nuclear blast. "Oh God, I can't believe we're actually doing this." Ashley's laugh sounded wrong. Too high. Too brittle. She reached for her envelope, but Emma was faster. "Let's read them out loud. Come on, it'll be fun." "Emma, no." Ashley's hand shot out. "Those are private." "Mom, that's the whole point. We all wrote letters to ourselves about who we thought we'd be in 10 years. I want to hear if you got it right." I watched Ashley's face. Watched the calculation happening behind her eyes. She was weighing her options, trying to figure out how to get that envelope back without making a scene. Without making everyone suspicious. "Too late, sweetheart." "Your mother's right," I said quietly. "They're personal. Maybe we should each read our own privately first." Relief flooded Ashley's features. "Yes, exactly. Thank you, David." "But then we can share the good parts," I continued. "The parts that aren't too embarrassing." Emma was already tearing into her own envelope. "Oh my God, listen to this. Dear future Emma, I hope you're dating someone cute and that you finally learned how to do a cartwheel without falling over." She laughed. "Spoiler alert, still can't do a cartwheel." Tyler grabbed his next. Barbara read hers aloud, her voice warm with nostalgia for a pot roast recipe she'd been making unchanged for 40 years. Which left Ashley and me. I opened mine slowly. Inside was exactly what I remembered writing. A letter about career goals, hopes for the kids' futures, a joke about whether I'd have more or less hair. Nothing incriminating. Nothing that would detonate my carefully constructed life. I'd always been careful. Ashley held her envelope like it might bite her. Her fingers trembled as she worked at the tape. She'd sealed it so thoroughly that she had to use the knife, and I watched her hands shake as she slid the blade under the flap. "What's wrong, Mom?" Tyler asked. "You look like you're about to open a bomb." The irony wasn't lost on me. Just nervous, Ashley managed. I probably wrote something really stupid. She pulled out the pages. Multiple pages, I noted, and her eyes scanned the first few lines. Then her face went from pale to gray. Well, Barbara leaned forward. What did you tell yourself? It's just boring stuff. About work. About hoping the kids would be happy. Ashley's voice had gone flat. Dead. Read it, I said. Her eyes snapped to mine. For the first time in 3 months, she really looked at me, really saw me, and I watched the exact moment she understood. I knew. David, read it, I repeated. We're all sharing. That's what Emma wanted. I don't think, Mom, come on. Emma was still riding high on nostalgia and family togetherness, still innocent. We all read ours. Ashley's hands were shaking so badly now that the pages rattled. I can't. Why not? Barbara frowned. Ashley, dear, what's wrong? Let me help. I stood up, walked around the table. Ashley clutched the letter to her chest, but I was faster. Stronger. I plucked it from her fingers before she could react. David, please. I started reading. Dear Ashley, if you're reading this, 10 years have passed. Emma is 18, Tyler is 15, and you need to know the truth about who you were when you wrote this. Stop, Ashley's voice cracked. Please stop. But I kept going. My voice was calm. Level. The voice I used when explaining complex systems to clients who didn't understand technology. You've been having an affair for 3 months now. His name is Michael Thompson. He works at your firm. You meet him at the Riverside Hotel every Tuesday and Thursday from 2:45 to 4:45 p.m. Emma's smile had frozen on her face. Tyler stared at his mother. Barbara's hand had gone to her mouth. You tell yourself it's because David doesn't see you anymore, because the marriage has gone stale, because you deserve to feel alive again. But the truth is simpler than that. You're a coward who chose the easy thrill over the hard work of fixing what you broke. Mom! Emma's voice was small, confused. Ashley was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. I ended it. I ended it years ago. That letter, I wrote it when I was confused, when I was going to leave him, but I didn't. I stayed. I chose this family. I kept reading. You're planning to ask for a divorce after the holidays. You've already looked at apartments. You've already told Michael you love him. By the time you read this, you'll probably have forgotten how easy the lies came. How you kissed David goodbye every morning and drove straight to another man's bed. That's not... Ashley stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. I didn't do any of that. I wrote this when I thought I might, but I didn't. I stayed. David, tell them. Tell them we worked it out. I looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman I'd loved for 12 years. This woman who'd shared my bed and raised my children and destroyed everything we'd built. Did we? I asked quietly. The silence in the room was absolute. When did you find this? Her voice was barely a whisper. I didn't. Not until 5 minutes ago. Then how did you? I installed geofencing on your phone 3 months after we buried this. You triggered an alert at the Riverside Hotel on a Tuesday afternoon. 2:47 p.m. to be exact. I watched her process that. Watched her count backward. Watched her realize. You've known for 10 years? 9 years, 7 months, and 13 days. But who's counting? Barbara made a small sound. Emma had gone very still. Tyler was looking at me like he'd never seen me before. There's more, I said, turning back to the letter. Should I continue? You bastard. Ashley's voice shook with rage now, tears forgotten. You've been sitting on this for a decade, watching me, waiting. I've been documenting, I corrected, building a case, making sure that when the time came, you'd lose everything. The time came? She laughed, high and hysterical. When was the time supposed to come, David? When Emma graduated college? When Tyler got married? When we were too old to start over? When I was ready. I set down the letter, pulled out my phone, opened the folder I'd labeled Evidence, and turned the screen toward her. I have 43 pieces of documentation, GPS logs, hotel receipts, credit card statements, emails you thought you deleted, text messages you thought disappeared, photos of you and Michael at 3 different restaurants, 2 company events, and 1 weekend in Asheville you told me was a girls' trip. Ashley stared at the phone, at the evidence of her own destruction, cataloged and organized with the same precision I brought to every project. I also have the name of a very good attorney who specializes in alienation of affection cases. Did you know North Carolina is one of the few states where I can sue Michael for stealing my wife? The settlements usually run around $50,000, sometimes more. You're insane. I'm thorough. Emma stood up suddenly, her chair toppling backward. I need to. She ran from the room. Tyler followed without a word. Barbara sat frozen, her hand still pressed to her mouth, staring at her daughter like she was looking at a stranger. Ashley and I faced each other across the table. The time capsule sat between us, its contents scattered like shrapnel. You did this on purpose, Ashley said. You knew what was in that letter. You wanted them here. You wanted witnesses. I wanted the truth to come out in front of the people you've been lying to for a decade. Yes. I ended it. Years ago. I chose you. I chose this family. You chose the path of least resistance. You chose not to blow up your comfortable life. That's not the same thing as choosing me. She sank back into her chair, her face in her hands. When she looked up, something had shifted in her expression. Resignation, maybe, or just exhaustion. What happens now? I picked up the letter again, folded it carefully, slipped it into my pocket. Now? Now you pack a bag. You leave. And tomorrow morning you'll receive divorce papers and a lawsuit naming both you and Michael Thompson as defendants. David, I'll have full custody. I have documentation of parental alienation, of you prioritizing an affair over your children's well-being. I have character witnesses lined up. I have everything I need. They'll hate you for this. Emma. Tyler. They'll hate you for humiliating me like this. Maybe. Or maybe they'll hate you for lying to them for 10 years. Either way, I'll be the one tucking them in at night. I stood up, pushed my chair in, walked toward the door. David. I stopped. Didn't turn around. Was any of it real? Did you ever actually love me? Or was I just another system you were managing? I thought about that. About the woman I'd married. About the life we'd built. About the exact moment it had all turned to ash. I loved who you were, I said finally. I just stopped believing she existed. Then I walked out, leaving Ashley alone with the ruins of her carefully constructed lies and a time capsule that had detonated exactly on schedule. The silence that followed my ultimatum lasted maybe 5 seconds. Then Barbara moved. She crossed the yard in 4 quick steps and slapped Ashley across the face. The crack echoed off the fence. You stupid, stupid girl, Barbara's voice shook. Just like your father. Ashley's hand went to her cheek, eyes wide with shock. I'd never seen Barbara lose her composure in 15 years. The woman who'd raised 3 daughters after her husband left her for his secretary, who'd built a successful real estate business from nothing, who'd always been the picture of controlled elegance. She looked ready to hit Ashley again. Mom. Don't. Barbara's finger jabbed the air between them. I watched my marriage end because your father couldn't keep it in his pants. I raised you girls to be better than that, to be stronger than that. Ashley's sister Rachel stood frozen by the patio table, her husband's arm around her shoulders. Their teenage daughter had her phone out, recording. I made a mental note. Evidence. Put that away, Olivia, Rachel said quietly. The phone disappeared. I ended it, Ashley said, her voice small. I chose my family. Barbara laughed, harsh and bitter. You chose the easier option. You think I don't know that calculation? I ran it myself 30 years ago. She turned to me. David, I'm sorry. If I'd known, you couldn't have known. I kept my voice level. Ashley made sure of that. I want to talk to Emma and Tyler. Ashley's composure was cracking. Good. Where do they go? Inside, I said. And you'll talk to them when I say you can talk to them. Her eyes flashed. They're my children too. Are they? I let the question hang. Because a mother who truly cared about her children wouldn't have risked destroying their family for hotel room hookups with her coworker. Rachel flinched. Barbara's jaw tightened. That's not fair, Ashley whispered. Fair? I pulled out my phone, scrolled to a specific folder. Let's talk about fair. Let's talk about Emma's piano recital on May 14th, 2019. Remember that, Ashley? Tyler had just turned 7. Emma played Fur-Elise. Ashley's face went pale. She remembered. I do, I continued. Because I was there. You weren't. You texted me that you had a client emergency. A presentation that couldn't wait. I turned the phone so everyone could see the screen. Here's the GPS log from that day. The Riverside Hotel. Check-in at 2:43 p.m. Check-out at 5:18 p.m. Emma went on stage at 3:30. Barbara made a sound like she'd been punched. You missed your daughter's first solo performance to sleep with Michael Thompson. I pocketed the phone. So don't talk to me about fair. Ashley's legs seemed to give out. She sat down hard on the grass, her perfect white dress crumpling around her. For the first time since I'd discovered the affair, I saw real tears. Not the practiced crying she'd deployed during arguments, the strategic tears designed to make me feel guilty for questioning her late nights at work. These were ugly, choking sobs. I felt nothing. No, that's not quite true. I felt satisfied. I'm sorry, she gasped the words between sobs. I'm so sorry. I was selfish and stupid, and I threw away everything for nothing. It meant nothing. It meant something, I said. It meant you valued your own pleasure more than your children's well-being. It meant you thought I was too stupid to notice. It meant you looked me in the eye every single day and lied. I ended it. She looked up at me, mascara streaking her face. I chose you. I chose us. You chose convenience. I crouched down to her level, close enough that only she could hear my next words. You chose not to lose the house, the lifestyle, the comfortable suburban existence I provided. You chose not to explain to your mother why you were getting divorced. You chose not to be the woman who broke up her family. That's not the same as choosing me. I stood up. My knees cracked. I was getting older. We both were. A decade had passed since she'd written that letter, since she'd planned to leave me for Michael Thompson. A decade I'd spent watching, documenting, waiting. The lawyer will contact you tomorrow, I said to the group at large. Barbara, Rachel, I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but Ashley made her choices and now she gets to live with the consequences. What about Emma and Tyler? Rachel asked. She'd found her voice. David, they're devastated. They just found out their mother. She stopped, unable to finish. They found out their mother is human, Ashley said, pushing herself to her feet. The tears had stopped. Her voice had steadied. They found out their mother made a mistake and tried to fix it. They found out their father is vindictive enough to hold a grudge for 10 years and cruel enough to destroy their family in front of an audience. There it was, the counterattack I'd been waiting for. Interesting spin, I said. Let's test it. Let's go inside and ask Emma and Tyler which parent they're more disappointed in right now, the one who cheated or the one who documented the cheating. You're not a victim, David. Ashley's chin came up. You're a stalker. You tracked my every movement for years. You read my private emails. You, you violated my privacy in ways that are probably illegal. North Carolina's a one-party consent state for recording, I said. I checked. Everything I did was legal. Unlike adultery, which is actually a crime here. Class 2 misdemeanor. Did you know that? Her mouth opened, closed. Of course you didn't, I continued. Because you didn't think about consequences. You just did what felt good in the moment and assumed you'd get away with it. I think, Barbara said carefully, that everyone needs to take a breath. David, you have every right to be angry. Ashley, you have no right to defend yourself. But those children inside need their parents to act like adults. Not this. She gestured at the yard, at the open time capsule, at the scattered family members, at the wreckage of what had been a pleasant Saturday afternoon. You're right, I said. Emma and Tyler need stability. They need to know what happens next. So here's what happens next. Ashley moves out by Monday. I'm filing for divorce Tuesday morning. I'm filing the alienation of affection lawsuit against Michael Thompson by end of business Tuesday. Ashley gets supervised visitation with the kids until the custody hearing. Supervised? Ashley's voice cracked. You can't. I can. I will. You demonstrated for years that you're willing to prioritize your affair over your children's needs. Emma's piano recital was just one example. I have dozens more. I did. The documentation folder on my laptop had grown to over 40 gigabytes. Every missed soccer game, every forgotten parent-teacher conference, every time she'd chosen Michael Thompson over Emma and Tyler. I'd cataloged it all. This is insane, Rachel said. David, you're talking about destroying Ashley's relationship with her own children over something that ended years ago. I'm protecting my children from a mother who's proven she can't be trusted. I kept my voice calm. Reasonable. If Ashley had actually changed, if she'd actually chosen her family, she would have confessed. She would have come clean and asked for forgiveness. Instead, she hid it. She would have taken that secret to her grave if I hadn't orchestrated this moment. The back door opened. Emma stood in the doorway, Tyler behind her. Both of them had been crying. We want to leave, Emma said. We don't want to be here anymore. Ashley took a step toward them. Sweetie? Not with you. Emma's voice was flat. We want to go with Dad. I watched Ashley's face crumple again. Watched her reach for Emma, watched Emma step back. Watched Tyler avoid his mother's eyes. Okay, I said quietly. Go get your things. We'll go to Grandma Jones' house. My mother lived 20 minutes away. She didn't know about any of this yet. That conversation would be its own nightmare. But at least Emma and Tyler would be away from this scene, away from the wreckage. They disappeared inside. Ashley stood in the middle of the yard, her white dress grass-stained, her makeup ruined, her family scattered. I hope you're satisfied, she said. I was. The backyard had become a crime scene of my own making. Ashley stood frozen, her face the color of old paper. Emma clutched the letter like evidence, which I suppose it was. Tyler's eyes darted between his mother and me, calculating. At 15, he'd gotten good at reading rooms. Barbara broke first. Get inside, Ashley, now. Mom, Inside. Before I say something I can't take back. Barbara's voice carried the weight of her own history. Ashley's father had done the same thing 23 years ago. Left Barbara for his secretary. Classic story. Ashley had sworn she'd never be like him. Funny how patterns repeat. Ashley walked toward the house, her shoulders rigid. She didn't look at me, didn't look at the kids. Rachel followed, shooting me a glance I couldn't quite read. Disgust? Pity? Probably both. Dad? Emma's voice was small. What happens now? Now we go home. I kept my tone level, factual. Your mother and I need to have a conversation, a real one. I don't want to go back there. Tyler spoke quietly, but there was steel underneath. Not if she's there. I'd prepared for this moment. Rehearsed it during those long nights when Ashley thought I was working late, when I was actually sitting in my home office, organizing files, building my case. You won't have to, I said. I've made arrangements. Emma looked up. What kind of arrangements? There's a house, 3 bedrooms near your schools, month-to-month lease. I signed it 2 weeks ago. I'd known the time capsule opening would be the catalyst. Had to be. Public enough to prevent Ashley from spinning the narrative. Private enough to control the damage. You planned this. Tyler wasn't asking. I planned for this. Important distinction. There's a difference. Barbara emerged from the house, her purse over her shoulder. She walked straight to me, and for a second I thought she might hit me too. Instead, she handed me a business card. Patricia Nguyen, divorce attorney, best in Charlotte. Barbara's voice was flat. She handled mine. Tell her I sent you. She'll know what to do. I took the card. Thank you. Don't thank me. I'm not doing this for you. She looked at Emma and Tyler. I'm doing it for them. They deserve better than watching their mother self-destruct the way I watched their grandfather destroy our family. She walked to her car without another word. The drive to the rental house took 23 minutes. Emma sat in the front seat, still holding the letter. Tyler was in the back, headphones on, staring out the window. Neither of them spoke. The house was in Dilworth, a quiet neighborhood with old trees and sidewalks that actually got used. 2-story craftsman, hardwood floors, updated kitchen. I'd furnished it minimally. Beds, dressers, a couch. The basics. Your rooms are upstairs, I said, unlocking the front door. I labeled them. Your stuff from home is already here. Clothes, books, whatever I could pack without your mother noticing. Emma finally set the letter down on the kitchen counter. How long have you been planning this? Long enough to do it right. That's not an answer. No, I agreed. It's not. Tyler pulled off his headphones. Did you know what was in the letter? Before today? I suspected. But you didn't read it. Emma's eyes were sharp. Prosecutor eyes. She'd make a good lawyer someday. No, I didn't read it. Truth. I hadn't needed to. I'd known what Ashley was planning 10 years ago because I'd found the draft on her laptop. She'd written it 3 times, each version more honest than the last. The final version, the one she'd sealed in the capsule, was the most damning. But I'd never opened the actual envelope. That would have been cheating. So you just waited. Tyler's voice carried something I couldn't quite identify. Respect? Horror? Both? I verified, then I waited. I pulled 3 bottles of water from the fridge. I'd stocked it yesterday. Your mother made a choice 10 years ago. She chose to stay, to try. I gave her the chance to prove that choice meant something. And did she? Emma took a water bottle, twisted it open. Prove it? I'd asked myself that question approximately 7,000 times over the past decade. Had Ashley truly ended it with Michael? The evidence suggested yes. Michael had transferred to the Atlanta office 6 months after the time capsule burial. Ashley had stopped the Tuesday and Thursday disappearances. Her phone records showed no contact, but evidence only shows what happened, not why. She stayed, I said. Whether that's the same as choosing us, I honestly don't know. My phone buzzed. Ashley. I declined the call. It buzzed again. Text this time. We need to talk. I typed back, tomorrow, 10 a.m., Starbucks on Providence Road, come alone. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. The kids are with me. They're safe. They're staying here. David, please. I silenced my phone. Emma was watching me. Was it worth it, waiting this long? Ask me in 6 months. I opened my own water. When the divorce is final and you two aren't stuck in the middle of a custody battle. That's why you waited. Tyler understood. Because if you divorced her back then, when we were little, you would have been collateral damage, shared custody, weekends, holidays split down the middle. I'd run the scenarios with Jeremy, my lawyer friend, years ago. North Carolina courts favored mothers, especially with young children. Even with proof of adultery. Even with alienation of affection claims. But with adult and near-adult children? Different story. They could choose. And they'd chosen. That's actually kind of brilliant, Tyler said. In a really messed up way. It's patient, I corrected. There's a difference. Emma set down her water bottle. I need to call Mom. No. Dad. Not tonight. Tomorrow after she and I talk, you can call her. Text her. Whatever you need. But tonight we all need space. I kept my voice gentle but firm. Trust me on this. Trust. Emma's laugh was bitter. That's rich. I never lied to you. You never told us the truth either. She grabbed her backpack. Which room is mine? First door on the left. She disappeared upstairs. Tyler lingered. You okay? I asked. Honestly, I don't know. He picked at the label on his water bottle. Part of me thinks you're justified. Part of me thinks you're kind of scary. Both can be true. Yeah. He headed for the stairs, then paused. Dad? That letter? The one Mom wrote? You really didn't know exactly what it said? I knew the general content, not the specific words. But you knew it would be bad enough. Yes? He nodded slowly. Good. I mean, not good. But I'm glad you didn't fake it. That would have been worse somehow. After he went upstairs, I sat at the kitchen table and pulled out my laptop. Opened the folder I'd been maintaining for 9 years, 7 months, and 13 days. Proof of Ashley's affair. Proof she'd planned to leave. Proof she'd stayed. And now, proof she'd documented her own intentions in writing. I drafted an email to Patricia Nguyen, attached the relevant files, and hit send. My phone buzzed again. Ashley. I ended it. I chose us. That has to count for something. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed, it would have, if you'd been honest about it. I was protecting the kids. You were protecting yourself. 3 dots. Then nothing. I looked at the letter on the counter. Emma had left it there, evidence abandoned. I picked it up, read it again. Ashley's handwriting, Ashley's words, Ashley's confession. To my future self, it began. By the time you read this, I hope you found the courage I don't have today. The courage to leave, to choose Michael, to blow up our family for something she called real connection. She'd found different courage instead. The courage to stay, to bury the letter, to pretend the time capsule didn't contain a loaded weapon. But she'd forgotten one crucial detail. I never forget anything. Upstairs, I heard Emma's door close. Tyler's music started, muffled through the walls. My phone stayed silent. Tomorrow, Ashley and I would talk. We'd negotiate terms. She'd probably cry, maybe beg. She'd definitely try to reframe the narrative, paint herself as the woman who'd made a mistake but chosen her family. The woman who deserved credit for staying. And maybe she did deserve credit. But credit doesn't prevent consequences. I pulled up Patricia Nguyen's response. All ready. It was 9:47 p.m. Received your files. Available tomorrow at 2 p.m. Bring the original letter. This is solid. Not the best she'd ever seen, just solid. Good enough. The mediation took 6 weeks. Ashley fought for joint custody, claimed my surveillance proved I was unstable. Patricia Nguyen buried her under documentation. Every missed recital, every lie, every hotel receipt. The judge wasn't impressed with Ashley's decade-old reformation story. I got primary custody. Ashley got alternating weekends and Thursday dinners. The alienation of affection lawsuit against Michael Thompson settled out of court. $73,000. I put it in college funds for Emma and Tyler. Ashley's firm quietly encouraged her to resign. Something about optics and client confidence. She landed at a smaller agency for less money. Michael transferred back from Atlanta 6 months after the divorce finalized. They lasted another year before that fell apart too. Barbara stopped speaking to Ashley for 18 months. Eventually they reconciled, but it was never the same. Some breaks don't heal clean. Emma graduated Duke with honors. She's in law school now at UNC. She speaks to her mother once a week, visits once a month. Dutiful but distant. Tyler finished at NC State, works in tech in Raleigh. He's cordial with Ashley. Nothing more. Neither of them asked me to explain myself. They'd figured it out on their own, that sometimes the right thing and the kind thing aren't the same thing. I sold the house in Dilworth after Tyler left for college, bought a smaller place in Davidson, started dating someone I met at a conference. Jennifer. She's a project manager, appreciates systems and structure. Doesn't ask about my ex-wife. Last month, Emma called. Dad, remember that time capsule? I was making coffee, Saturday morning. Hard to forget. I've been thinking about it, about what you did. I waited. I get it now, she said quietly. Why you waited? Why you documented everything? You were protecting us. I was protecting myself too, I said. Because that was also true. I know. But you could have blown everything up when we were kids. Could have made it our problem. You didn't. No, I didn't. That took discipline, she paused. I'm not saying it was right, I'm just saying, I understand. After we hung up, I sat with my coffee and thought about Ashley's letter. About her confession sealed in the ground, waiting like a landmine for the right moment to detonate. She'd thought she was burying evidence. Instead, she'd buried a timer. People talk about forgiveness like it's noble, like letting go is strength. Maybe it is for some people. But I've never been good at letting go. I'm the guy who backs up the backup, who reads the fine print, who plans for contingencies. Ashley gambled that I'd never find out. When I did find out, she gambled that I'd forgive and forget. She lost both bets. Here's what I learned. Trust is a system. When it fails, you don't patch it. You document the failure, analyze the root cause, and build something new with better safeguards. Marriage is a contract. When someone breaks it, you don't renegotiate from weakness. You enforce the terms. And patience isn't passive. Sometimes patience is the sharpest weapon you have. Ashley stayed in the marriage for 10 years after writing that letter. 10 years of pretending, performing, playing the role of faithful wife. Maybe she really did change. Maybe she really did choose us. But she chose us while hiding the truth. And a choice made in deception isn't really a choice at all. I don't regret waiting. I don't regret the documentation, the planning, the careful construction of consequences. I gave Ashley a decade to prove her reformation was real. She proved instead that she was just better at hiding. The time capsule is still in my storage unit, minus the letters. I kept Ashley's. Filed it with the divorce papers. Evidence, even now. Emma asked me once if I'd ever trust anyone again. I told her the truth. I trust systems. I trust verification. I trust that people will act in their own self-interest, and if you plan accordingly, you're never surprised. She said that sounded lonely. Maybe it is. But I'm not the one who spent 10 years sleeping next to someone I'd betrayed, wondering if today would be the day it all came crashing down. That's a different kind of lonely. I finished my coffee. Jennifer will be here in an hour. We're driving to Asheville for the weekend. She knows I was married before, knows it ended badly, doesn't push for details. It's not love. Not yet. Maybe not ever. but it's honest. And after everything, that's enough. The moral, if there is one, isn't about revenge. It's about accountability. Ashley made choices to cheat, to lie, to stay, to hide. Each choice had consequences. I simply ensured those consequences arrived on schedule. Some people bury their mistakes and hope time will erase them. I'm the kind of person who remembers where everything is buried. And eventually, I dig it all up.